How valuable is your personal information? How much is it worth? How about $63 million? That is the price tag the Florida DMV settled on with outside companies to sell your private information. We're talking your name, your address, and your date of birth. And the kicker here, the DMV isn't doing anything illegal by selling this info.
No, they're not. In fact, the state of Florida made $63 million off of your personal information. Fox 25's Valerie Boyd's been looking into this. Val, how in the world is this legal?
It's pretty incredible, huh? Well, a judge ruled that it's perfectly legal. In fact, it's even a federal mandate. The DMV says only certain companies are allowed to buy this information for things like car recalls, but some drivers say it's just not right.
You go to the Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles to get your driver's license, and that's where you provide your name, address, date of birth, and vehicle registration. But did you know the DMV then turns around and sells that information to private companies? We talked to driver Josh Whitley.
What's your reaction hearing that the DMV sells your information?
It's kind of ridiculous. You know, it's private. I don't want to give out everything that's me to somebody else.
According to a DMV spokesperson, the average person just can't go in and buy your personal information. And she says a business looking to solicit you can't purchase it either.
Because of a federal mandate, the DMV is allowed to sell the information to auto manufacturers, towing agencies, insurance companies, and businesses that provide background checks. Spokesperson Ann Howard calls it a safety issue. We talked to her over the phone.
You don't want to have a poor driver with a horrible driving record getting a job where they're driving around children or even you.
Howard tells us it's also a convenience issue. Many of these businesses help distribute information instantly when it would take the DMV 6 weeks to 3 months.
Because of these companies that help take over this process, you now can get an instant check on your driving record per these companies. So they help alleviate the system.
I trust them, get my license, everything else. It doesn't need to belong to an insurance company or anything else.
In the last year, the DMV made $63 million off your information. Josh thinks the state needs to steer clear of this.
Our information and everything else should be kept to us. If we want to give out that information, then we give out the information. But anything that I give in a private setting, then that's mine.
And if you don't want your personal information released, all you have to do is go to the DMV website and ask them to withhold that information.
I got to know, what is the state doing with the $63 million that they've made, off of all of our information?
So much money, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Well, they say that it goes back into the operating budget. They say it takes a lot of time and effort to actually release all that information.
I bet. Petty cash is what they're saying.
Yes.
Okay, sure. All right, Valerie, thank you. By the way, they do say that your driver's license, your social security number, that information is not for sale.
Constitutional law attorney Larry Walters and Fox News business contributor Gary Kaltbaum here to talk more about this. Guys, no other way to put it, but a little infuriating. Larry, what is the federal mandate that allows the state to do this, to sell our information?
Well, there are certain companies that are allowed to acquire and compile information that is generally publicly available for databases to allow people to search for that information, and they're allowed to do that. But the fact that there's a federal mandate doesn't necessarily mean that mandate comports with Florida law and Florida's constitutional privacy rights, which are very strong in the state of Florida.
Okay, so you perceive there could be an issue perhaps down the line, Larry, with this quickly. Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, Gary, I know your thoughts here too. I mean, you could say to someone, you don't have to have an ID, but in this day and age, you're going to have to get a photo ID at some point, so therefore it'll be sold at some point? I mean, any way around it?
Yeah, I just figured out how I end up with 700 pieces of mail trying to sell me insurance at my house. Look, for me, the big issue here is what's right and full and fair disclosure. I doubt any person in Florida knows that their information is being sold, and this is just not fly-by-night information. What kind of car you're driving, your insurance company, how much you have as far as caps. I just don't think that this is the right thing to do. And again, I think this is about ethics and disclosure, and I just wish somebody would tell us before they start giving out information like that.
Well, and Larry, as I'm sure you're familiar, as even technological experts will tell you, all hackers need to steal your ID is sometimes as simple as your name, your address, and your zip code, right?
Yeah, the more information that a hacker can get to tie you, the easier it is going to be to steal your identity. So the fact that this information is being readily sold and that the state is making this kind of millions of dollars on it strikes me as just fundamentally wrong.
Right. Gary, any way around this? Or?
But if you think about this, the government's supposed to work for us.
Right.
They're using us to work for them and make money for themselves. I don't think there's any way around this. I'm sure maybe somebody's going to file a suit or something like that, but you're fighting a big, gigantic shadow, and it probably lives on. You know, government police say we made $60 million, and they probably wasted it on some other program.
Yeah, it's unbelievable when you think about that. Our info with a big price tag. Guys, thank you so much for coming in, Gary Kaltbaum and Larry Walters. By the way, Social Security numbers and license plates are not included in this sale of information. The companies that get the info gather the data and then sell it on for various different purposes.